Hello there, everybody. How you doing? All right. So today we're here talking about Scottish independence. Obviously, you see, I am American, and obviously, I've taken an interest in this, and I've been talking about this. Um, Part of the reason for that is, as you can see, as you look around here, over on my other channel, my main channel, where I talk about primarily criminal justice issues. I've made quite a few friends around the world, and that's one of the reasons why Scottish independence came to my attention. Anyways, today what we're going to be talking about is obviously we got the Arbroath Independence March this weekend, but obviously because right now we're in COVID-19 protocols and stuff, you can't really have a gathering like that for the Independence March. You know what I mean? Because right now we have to stay away from each other and not overwhelm our medical communities. In Scotland's case, the NHS. So, we're obviously not able to, or, well, the people in Scotland are not able to gather together and have the march in Arbroath as they had planned, but they are planning a streaming event for this weekend, which I'm pretty excited about. So I will be tuning in and watching all the various content that comes from all the YouTubers and, well, all the various streaming platforms that are going to be taking part this weekend in this streaming independence event. So it should be interesting. Anyways, so what I wanted to talk about here today, pretty much briefly, is as we're going through this COVID-19 process and people are spending a lot more time at home and are able to observe what's going on in terms of preparing for this global pandemic and everything, and people are going to be able to really look and make their own discernment based on what they're going to see. I mean, I don't know what's going on in terms of incubators, folks. I mean, even here in the U.S., it's like it didn't get any serious thought until it was the 11th hour, I guess you might say. And similar thing happened in the UK. But then when I heard about this today, I mean, for those who have been following it, obviously, it's very important to be able to test for COVID-19, to be able to determine who's infected with it and that sort of stuff, especially your medical professionals, so that you can keep an eye on them and if they're getting infected and that sort of stuff. These are all very important things for tests. Well, what we realize now is that the UK and Wales were trying to buy tests and apparently got into some kind of bidding war. Okay, and Wales had written what's it called, paperwork basically for these tests. Their order, Wales order was canceled by the UK, and the UK will now buy all the tests, or well, Westminster or England, Westminster will now buy all the tests, which is basically in England, and they will buy all the tests and determine how they get dispersed to Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So they've now basically taken that unto themselves. Now, see, I have an interesting question, and maybe somebody out there will be able to answer this for me, because I'm sitting here thinking, if the UK Parliament, if Westminster is basically taking this all upon themselves and they're buying all these tests and then they're going to disperse them, well, how can they have money to buy anything for the Scottish NHS? Because they don't have any money there to buy anything for the Scottish NHS. You understand what I mean by that, right? If you remember when I covered the Barnett formula, right? And what the Barnett formula is and how it works and all those sort of things, right? You remember we talked about the Scottish NHS, and that is one public service that is in 99.7% control by the Scottish devolved Parliament. Okay, so that means the Scottish devolved Parliament is in control of 99.7% of the NHS. That means all that funding, 99.7% of the funding for the Scottish NHS is coming to the Scottish Parliament. So I'm a little worried of how this works. If this is all now going through Westminster and all that sort of stuff, when technically Westminster doesn't have much there for funding anything in the Scottish and a National Health Service. So that's, for me, that's just a curiosity that I'm curious about, in finding out that these tests will now be handed out by the UK government, essentially. So anyways, here, let me show you a little clip and we'll come on back.
NHS England and NHS Wales ended up in some kind of bidding war, some kind of competition for testing kits, the upshot of which was, to the Welsh Government's horror, their order, which was in writing, was cancelled. Now, this has triggered all sorts of alarm bells across Whitehall, and an emergency meeting on Friday between the health ministers, the cabinet health ministers from the 4 different nations, resulted in a rethink in the way that testing kits are bought from the major manufacturers. And from now on, Whitehall will decide, will buy in and decide the allocation of testing kits, not only for England, as had been the case, but for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
All right, so, I mean, for me right now, I mean, I'm looking at this situation and I'm thinking, wait, I've just been hearing about this thing where they've kind of fumbled with the incubators, right? And it's like, and now they want to be in control, in complete control of the tests. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, hey, they're taking all this unto themselves. And the people, in the end, are going to judge them accordingly. And I think when the lack of ventilators becomes a real problem, the amount of time that was wasted in procuring them, I think will become a big issue for not just in Scotland, but yeah, this is going to be a real telling time. This is going to be a very, very telling time, because so far, Westminster hasn't started off on the best foot, and I'm not seeing. Stepping on Wales that way when Wales had a written order and everything, and already, and had their order canceled, that's going to ruffle some feathers. So we're going to have to see how this ends up, playing out for the UK and particularly Westminster. And like I said, I mean, I'm curious as to what kind of funding they have in terms of buying tests for Scotland, or any, anyway. So it's interesting to me, nonetheless. So we'll have to see how this is all going to go. But to me, coming off of the incubator issue, to have Westminster taking complete control of the testing is a little concerning for me. So I'm very excited about the streaming event this weekend for the Arbroath Independence March, which they couldn't actually hold in person, so they've taken to doing the streaming event. I'm very excited. I can't wait until COVID-19 has passed and people are able to gather again in Scotland, because I really like seeing it when they actually march through the streets and stuff. That's really awesome. Seeing all the pipers out there and the guys with the the big saltires, and everything. Just really cool. It's so much fun to watch and to see everybody. At the Inverness March, I was fortunate enough to have my good friend, my secretary on Scottish Independence, my trusty Ouija Sharon Sunshine Young, had her nephew go out to the Inverness March. I actually got a clip of Ian Blackford saying "Hey Eric Jose" and talking about independence and stuff. So it was really cool. Jeremy got some really cool footage. He has a YouTube channel. I'll put a link for it down below. he goes all around Scotland and gets footage of various kind of stuff. It's really cool, actually. So if you want to go ahead, check it out. Like I said, I'll leave a link below. And yeah, I'm looking just like I said, excited about this weekend. Can't wait to see what they come up with, and how many different various Scottish personalities we're going to see streaming. I'm sure we'll see like IndyCar. You guys saw I had Indy Truck Davey here on my channel just last weekend, or this past weekend, and so I'm sure we'll be seeing him, and I'm sure we'll be seeing lots of others. I would imagine we're going to see possibly maybe one or two of the Scottish Parliament, officers or members of Parliament. So we might see that. It'll be interesting to see what we'll see all over, through the course of this weekend with the streaming event for the Arbroath Independence March. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys all are too. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.